Yes.
How is Katie feeling about Maddie these days? There was sort of a double betrayal there that Katie knew was coming, and
I mean, I think in some ways Katie's heartbroken that the occupation has made Maddie more of a moral relativist than she already was. Katie knows her sister, and she knows that in addition to being a wonderful human being, she can also be selfish, and she can be, her fears can drive her to do things that maybe even she wishes she didn't. I think the betrayal is a real knife in her heart, but I don't think it's enough to make her turn her back on her sister forever. I think she desperately wants to find Maddie some way, somehow. But I don't think she's willing to stick her neck out for her in the same way she was before, because her sister tried to have her, basically killed.
In the panel, you talked about how your character is willing to put her kids at risk a little bit just so she can protect all the kids in the block.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so interesting. Can you talk about that a little bit? And I absolutely agree, but I don't think I had ever thought about it in that way before.
It's a tricky one. I mean, I think maybe the best way I can kind of come at it, so I work with the International Rescue Committee. We do, they do humanitarian aid all over the world. And in January and February of 2013, I went to Iraq and Jordan to do a bunch of things, but basically to try and raise awareness about what was going on over there. And going, this was pre-ISIS, but going across the border from a war zone was not without risk. And I was totally safe the whole time I was there, by the way. But I was aware of the fact that something could happen. And I suppose you could argue that's an irresponsible thing to do as a mother, because I only had one kid at the time, but that would have put my daughter in a terrible situation. At the same time, I just don't believe, and I don't think Katie does either, that you can live bounded by those kinds of fears. Otherwise, you're not going to live a life that has any kind of impact.
Yeah.
But people get furious with female characters who do that kind of a thing. And I mean, I've gotten an earful from some fans about, like, well, how dare you X, Y, and Z? I'm like, well, but what about Will?
Right.
And we're getting better. But the conventional wisdom used to be that a woman who takes a risk is a terrible mother, and a man who takes a risk is a hero. And we're slowly massaging that out of our culture, but it's going to take some time.
Well, I think this character is, helping challenge that, which is great.
I think so, because she's written to be as heroic as she is flawed, and so is Will. And I think there's something great about presenting the fact that these are two fully articulated characters with their own ethical issues that are both held accountable for mistakes and are both kind of lionized for making courageous decisions, which is refreshing.
The website I write for is called Brazen Women, and I would like to know how you would define being brazen.
I mean, unfortunately, I think being a brazen woman just means claiming all of the rights and privileges of maleness and not apologizing for it. And I don't say that in any way that's strident, but I mean, it's you get an earful from people sometimes, and it's important to be respectful and to allow everybody to have their opinion. But there are times when it's absolutely shocking to me what comes out of people's mouths, because if you just Lori from Walking Dead is an amazing example. Like, the number of people like, she's a terrible mother. I'm like, really? Because every time her husband comes home, he gives her a kiss on the cheek and then leaves her and her son to go save, like, for instance, a raging racist of a redneck. And that's good parenting, and it's not that, I think Rick Grimes is an amazing character, but that's when I really started getting a sense of the colossal double standard in what would be heroic if a man were doing it, and instead makes her, pick your word that they use to.
She was a good mom.
Look, both of her kids are still alive.
Yeah.
8 years apocalypse and both of our kids are still left. I mean, there's 3 eyes between them, but whatever. You had a, yes.
So with social media being so prevalent now, everybody's opinions being out there so much, how much do you read into that? Does that play an effect on anything? You know, you obviously watched the fandom grow for the show too, and as that grows, more and more people begin to have opinions as well.
Yeah, I tend not to engage with too much of other people's opinions. You know, I read comments, I read fan mail. If somebody sends it to me, I'll read every word. I'll flip through comments on social media sometimes. Anything that's negative, I skip. People are more than welcome to have their opinions, but my job as an actor is to be emotionally open to stuff, and so when things come in, they land and they hurt, and I don't need that. I don't need to be worrying about that nonsense in my head, you know? Although I have to say, I mean, by and large, people are pretty great. You know, by and large, people are pretty great with me. I mean, there are other actors who have different kinds of fans, and that's a different kind of cross to bear. But people are like, be my mom. I wish you'd bake me a cake. I'm like, yeah, man, totally. It's not like Norman Reedus, right? They're not like trying to tattoo. God bless him. The number of times he's been like, somebody just gave me another bag of squirrel meat. I'm like, woo! All right.
Thank you.